Welcome back to Waking Up with Mindful Serenity Yoga. And welcome to spring. Today is the second day of spring. Spring equinox was yesterday. And I love spring. What I love in spring the most is the return of birdsong outside my window. Though I have been feeding the birds, as I usually do in January, February, and March, it tends to be a harsh time for birds around Canada, this part of Canada. So I just put out a feeder for them at that time. And I have been getting a lot of blue jays, one of Canada's favorite birds, as well as grosbeaks, yellow grosbeaks, and some goldfinches. I definitely have chickadees. Those are my favorite birds, the little chickadees. And I've had lots of those appearing at the feeder as well. I also have my murder. I'm noticing now the birds are coming back, and I see my murder of crows that I've been feeding. It seems consistently through the last few years. There's a few of them. Many of this murder migrate and come back to the same spot, and I know they're mine because they have a tendency to come right to my window to tell me they want to be fed, and they do not move at all when I go out to feed them, and I can get fairly close to them. So I know these are the same guys that I have been feeding for the last few years. So I like to feed them this time of the year because food is scarce until the snow is gone, and though we seem to be having what appears to be a very early spring for my time of year, for this time of the year, in this particular section of the world where I live, winter can be extended way into even May. So it's nice to see that the snow is melting quite a bit out there, and because I'm also hearing the robins, and as they have returned as well. I have yet to see one, but I can hear their song, which is so distinct and beautiful that I know the robins have returned. I also hear some mourning doves out there. So it's nice to hear them returning as well. So anyway, my yard is just a chorus of bird song. It's like an orchestra out there. I should record it because it is so beautiful. So on this rainy second day of spring, I'm coming here to talk about change, because we see a change in season, and we have a change in our experience of the world because it looks so differently out there. So we're going to talk about the 5 remembrances and the fourth of those 5 remembrances. The fourth remembrance, which is a reminder of the impermanence of life, is everything I hold dear and everyone I love are also of the nature to change. I cannot escape being separated from them. And I add on to that, I cannot escape loss. Everything I hold dear and everyone I love is also of the nature to change. I cannot escape being separated from them. I cannot escape loss. Wow, that's a big one, I know. And probably, even though the biggest fear tends to be the fear of death, this is one that we cling to a lot and try to avoid and escape. Cling to the opposite reality of, and try to avoid and escape because it is so painful. We cling to the things we collect and do and think and believe because they make us feel they solidify our idea of self, of little me, right? They build the psyche. And we cling to special relationships. A Course in Miracles refers to the special relationship is an egoic relationship where my ego, which is definitely unfulfilled because egos can't be fulfilled, seeks the ego of another to fulfill it. And it is an ego with ego relationship, not necessarily a healthy one, the special relationship. We have special relationships with our spouses, with our other significant others, with our parents, our children, our best friends, our co-workers, with people who belong to the same groups as we do, whether it be like a religious group or a sports team or something along that line. A special relationships, again, is used to help the ego feel solidified. And the ego is not a solid thing, right? The psyche is not a solid thing. This me, who I think I am in body and mind, is not a solid thing. It's just another construct, another self-concept, something I created in my head based on all the events I've had over my life that I've stuffed and stored, especially if they're emotionally charged. It's based on all the conditioning I've had over my life, what other people taught me, what other people told me, whether it be through the institutions or the family setting or social groups I belong to. This psyche is based on an idea, a thought, a belief of who I think I am, right? It is not the essence of who I am. So the psyche is continuously changing. One minute I like this, the next minute I like that. One minute I don't like that and I'm pushing it away, and another minute I like this over here and I'm grabbing for it, right? I belong to this group at one point in my life because I believe in their ideology. I leave that group at another point in my life because I no longer believe in their ideology, and I join another group. The psyche is constantly changing. The ego is constantly changing because it is a thought stream, and our thought streams constantly change, right? Constantly moving, constantly going somewhere. I'm not going to say forward because I believe the ego holds us back more than it leads us forward. So when we say we have an ego and we are having a relationship, it's usually the ego which needs to feel comfortable inside, because the ego identifies with a sense of comfort, right? It is a human tendency to run from pain and seek pleasure. The human tendency is to run from pain and seek pleasure. We don't like pain. So when it comes to establishing these special relationships and solidifying this ego and giving it a sense of meanness and preventing it from being hurt or attacked, because we're very protective of this ego, even though it's a concept, we're so identified with it, thinking that it is who we are, just as we think the mind and the body is who we are. This ego is who we are, encapsulated in this body and mind, and this is the materialistic view of the human being. We forget to see that beyond all that, there is this essence. So the ego, seeing itself in a separate body, separate mind, feels very vulnerable to attack and is constantly trying to defend itself. And it defends itself by building itself up, making itself more solid, and making itself feel better by grabbing for things out there in the external world that will help to solidify this identity, will help to soothe the identity, make it more comfortable. And at the same time that it's grabbing for things to solidify it, it's pushing away anything that might disturb it. It pulls in pleasure, pushes away pain. And that's the way we were conditioned, taught to live. So this is not just something we do as an individual. We are collectively taught that we're all egos, even though we don't use that term ego, that this is who we are, our personality, our bodies is who we are. And we believe it, right? So we're constantly seeking to establish a sense of solidity by grabbing things outside us that help the ego feel better and stronger, and we push away anything that might make it feel more vulnerable, uncomfortable, pain. So pleasant things are things that stroke the ego and make the ego feel stronger. Painful things are things that might disturb the ego. And of course, the ego is part of the body, so that plain pressure mechanism has to do with the senses as well, right? What is pleasant to the bodily senses? What feels good to touch? What feels good to sight? What feels good to taste and smell? Those are and hearing. Those are the things we will reach for. And if it doesn't feel good to the sight and doesn't feel good to the hearing and doesn't feel good to the sense of taste, yuck, I don't want that, right? So that's just the human tendency. But what we're doing is stroking and building this ego all along, and we're also defending and protecting it. And we do that with our relationships. We seek other people who are going to stroke this idea I have of me, make it feel stronger, more solid, better, more comfortable. And we push away people who we assume are making this me feel worse. And this me, again, is just my ego. We use that term me an awful lot. The me is just another pronoun that identifies the ego. And we push away people who make this me feel uncomfortable, or who stir up, basically, everything we have stored inside that we're trying to keep down. We don't want anyone to come along to hit us in the wrong way and make us remember, even though we're not actually connecting the memory with the emotion at that time or the trauma, something that has happened in the past, and that automatically comes up, and we have this awful feeling coming up and that person coming at us. So it's like a double whammy of emotion. But instead of owning it as a part of this ego identity, we blame the person that has come at us for doing something wrong, bad, or shouldn't be, instead of identifying that we're just, whatever we have stuffed and stored inside has been triggered, right? So we build special relationships around people who don't do that, who tend to stroke us and make us feel good, make this me feel good, and we push away people who make us feel worse and bad and who trigger whatever we have inside of us. So our special relationships are with those people who we have identified as being soothing to the ego and positive to the ego, not necessarily to the self. So we become very attached to these people. We marry them, in front of a bunch of people. We say, okay, I'm going to spend the rest of my life with this person, and I promise to do whatever I can to make this person happy. And we expect them to do the same with us, right? And when these individuals, and that's just the spousal relationship, we do the same in a different way with our friends and our children. We have expectations with our parents. We have expectations. They have expectations of us. We have expectations of our neighbors and whatnot. And if people do not meet as long as they're meeting our expectations, they are great. They belong into our circle. But the moment that they don't meet those expectations, and heaven forbid go completely against our expectations, we blame them and push them away. And so we're not attached to those individuals, but we are attached to the people who feed our egos and make us feel better about our little selves. We also become very attached to things that feed this ego that are not necessarily other people. Like the possessions we own. The more possessions we have, we become very attached to the cars we drive, because it helps to identify me as a person who's, if I'm driving a Beamer, hey, look how successful I am. This is identity. This is who I am. I've earned that. Or if we're wearing a Rolex on our arms, again, it's a sign of success. So we become attached to those symbols of success that feed the ego again and make the ego appear to be something better than, because we usually have the ego has a very competitive and comparative nature to it, always wanting to be better than. And we become attached to the houses we live in, the neighborhoods we live in. We become attached to the groups we belong to. We become attached to our thoughts and feelings, thinking that they are real and true, and everybody else who thinks differently isn't real or true. Our religions, our churches, our successes, our educational identities, how many letters we have attached to the back of our names, and we're very attached to those because, again, they help to identify this little me. We become attached to our roles. We become attached to our feelings because we can't separate who we are from our feelings. We often live through our feelings. So it's a lot of attachment we have as human beings as we progress from one day to the other. And we need these things to be there. We make these assumptions that they're there for us and they have to stay there for us. We tell ourselves we love them and we're giving to them and it's a healthy relationship because here I am, look what I'm giving to this person and look what I'm getting back. It's just healthy and normal. But what we're really doing is living in a very conditional state of being. As long as things are the way we assume and believe and hope and want them to be, as long as they continue to stroke the ego, the little me, then yes, we are very, very attached to them. We are giving to them. But do we give to them when they stop giving to us? Do we still love when the person we were married to for 20 years comes and tells us they're having an affair with somebody else? In fact, they have a family with somebody else. Or do you still love that person? No. Well, you do, but you don't realize how. You assume that you feel suddenly very close and resistant, and they've done something wrong, so we no longer love them. And we push them away mentally and emotionally from our experience because it causes too much pain. They did not meet our expectations. And do you love the person who you don't know who comes over and calls you such and such for stepping into line? No. You close to that. You assume you don't know because you think love is coming from out there. And as long as people are stroking the ego, we assume that to be love that we're getting. So it's really easy to give that love back in those very ideal circumstances. But that's not where love comes from, and that's not what love is. But we're very attached to that idea of love, especially romantic love, that we cling and grasp and feel great disappointment and hurt and close up a whole lot when that person we love stops meeting our expectations. And same with our children and our parents and our friends. People need to be the way that strokes the ego in order for us to love them. We truly love and give to them. It seems righteous to give when we are loved, but it seems righteous not to give when someone stops loving us. And that's not what love is about. That is attachment love. And attachment is different than love. Attachment to the things are different than love. So anyway, we have this idea that the things we own, the people we need, should stay the same. They shouldn't change. But everything in this world changes from one day to the next. Everything changes. It ebbs in, it flows out. It comes into your moment, and this is a moment you're experiencing, and then it will flow out of your moment. But because we need to feed this ego, which is so insecure and needy, we need to look at things as if they are permanent. You know, you swear to love me for the rest of your life, right? And when the person can't, not good. We don't realize that the people we love in our special relationships are also made of egos. And ego just constantly changes. It's not who they are. And what we're loving in these relationships is their ego, is their personality, is the masquerading self they are showing to us. And that masquerading self either appeases our ego and our masquerading self, or it hurts it. So we are not loving them, who they are beyond the ego, the essence of who they are. We're loving their egos. And those egos are constantly going to change. Now let's look at the body of that individual that you love. You want their body to be there, because it is attachment to the physical form of that individual. And that's what attraction is, right? Attraction is the attraction to the physical form, and we become attached to that body. We identify that person as their body and their personality. We fail to see who they are beyond it. But that body, with those trillions of cells that you love in that person over there who seems to be separate from you, is also constantly changing, right? Cells change through a process of apoptosis. They will die off and new cells will come in. Their body, if you're in a relationship for 20 years, is completely different than the body you fell in love with. They are changing. And you can't stop them from changing, nor can you stop them from getting older, getting sick, or from dying. Because the body will, because it is the nature of, age, become ill, and possibly die during your lifetime. So that is the sad reality of any relationship we establish with anybody. And the more we are attached to that physical form, more we are attached to them being exactly who they are, the more loss we are going to feel when they do get sick or die. And what about the mind of that individual, the personality of that individual? That's constantly changing too. Their thoughts are constantly changing. Their beliefs are constantly changing. Their feelings are constantly changing. They may decide sometime that they don't want to be in a committed relationship anymore. They may decide to leave you because their thought stream has changed. Or they may decide that they don't care about you in the way that they thought you did. They may become evolved and awaken and realize that a relationship is not what they need. Who knows? But they may leave you. And that is the sad reality of life as well. It's impermanent. Thought streams are impermanent. Bodies are impermanent. The cells in our body are impermanent. Our beliefs are impermanent. Our feelings are impermanent. They're ebbing in, they're flowing out. All things in life, the physical world, are impermanent. And so are the things we own. You may one day recognize that you have $1 million in your account. You have made it. You have succeeded. And then because of some freak investment thing or something going on with the government, you end up losing all your money. You were attached to that money. It identified you. It helped your ego. But all the while you had that money in your account, your ego was saying, I need more. I need more. It's not enough. I need more. I need more. I need more. I'm going to feel better. I'm going to feel stronger, even more stronger, more solid, more better. Give me more, give me more, give me more. So you were never even content when you had that because you were seeking, grasping, clinging. And then you lost it all. And it was like, whoa, what do I do now? I was supposed to be a person who had a lot of money. Now I'm this person who's begging on the streets. That's not supposed to be what the way it's supposed to be. But that is the impermanent nature of life. We don't know. Not only is life impermanent, or the life circumstances impermanent, they're unpredictable. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So things change. Everything is of the nature to change, including the things that you hold dear, including the people you love. Things change. And again, it's like that analogy of trying to grab onto sand from the beach and hold it in your hands and walk 100 miles with it. It's just going to seep out through the cracks in your fingers. We can't hold on to these things. And we spend our entire lives worried that we're not going to get these things. Then when we get them, we worry that we're going to lose them, whether they be a relationship or a thing or a level of a success or an emotional state of being. But nothing is permanent. So we're wasting our time trying to strive to grab things, and we're wasting our time clinging to them so we don't lose them. We have to let life do what life does. Life blows in, life blows out. Just like the ebb and flow of an ocean. The waves come into shore, the waves are pulled back. Sometimes they bring this stuff, other times they pull back that stuff. We do not know. That is the reality of life. It is impermanent. So what do? We just accept the fact that we're going to lose everything? Like, that's just creating more fear in me. I understand that as well. But once we realize the impermanence of life, we ask the question, well, if this is impermanent, what is permanent? What is permanent? And who you are at the deepest level is permanent. That's the only thing about you that is permanent. That and the consequences of your actions are impermanent, are permanent. Whatever you leave behind in forms of what you've done, especially in the area of service, is permanent. The essence of who you are, beneath your personality, beneath your body, despite your relationships, despite the things you own or don't own, is permanent. That is permanent. That doesn't change. That in you that is witnessing the changing of phenomenon, the relationships coming into your life, the relationships going out of your life, the grief and the loss, as well as the joy and the blessing that comes, the emotions that are high, the emotions that are low, the thoughts that are positive, the thoughts that are negative, the light and the darkness, the pain and the joy. The you that is witnessing that, the I am, the self with a capital S, whatever you want to call it, it doesn't matter, it's just another concept. The you that is conscious, that is consciousness, is permanent. So the person that you love, if you could get a little deeper in your love and realizing they are not responsible for giving you love and making your ego feel good, that just creates a mess, right? You are responsible for opening up to the love that's already in you, because that's where it comes from, not out there. And you look at them not as being responsible for your happiness, but being a vehicle through which you get to express the love that's in you, then that creates a totally different relationship, an unconditional one. We're going to get rid of our conditions. We'll be happy as long as that person is in my life and they're treating me like this. I'll be happy as long as I have this, that, and I don't have that, that, and the other thing. No. Anything that comes into your life will flow out of your life. But who you are at the deepest level and the consequences of the actions that you perform in this lifetime will not leave you, will not be going out with the ocean wave. It's the only thing that you have. So, stop putting conditions, stop grasping and clinging, stop assuming that everything has to be there all the time for you, and start recognizing this impermanence. Not in a way that is fear-based, but in a way that is, oh, okay, so I better make the most of this relationship I have right now. I should look a little deeper into myself and this other person to see what is there. I should learn and grow in this moment. I should stop clinging onto material things and stop valuing them. And I should seek thee first for the kingdom of God, and all other things will be added on to you. That kingdom of God is in you. And that's why we're here. And that is eternal. So yes, everything you hold dear and everyone you love is also of the nature to change. You cannot escape being separated from them. You cannot escape loss. But if you stop clinging, stop being so attached to that which doesn't really matter, and seek thee first that which does, then your whole life will change. Well, that was a big long spiel for that fourth remembrance. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.